In studio with me, Representative John Frullo, who, yes, is on the ballot. You're running, it's almost like a stealth race. It's under the radar. John Frullo, welcome back to the show.
Good morning, Chad. Good to be here. Enjoy my time with you. And I don't know as far as being stealth. I mean, there's still a lot going on out there.
But it's one of those, it has been one of those races that's been under the radar and, taking a back seat to the governor's race and just about everything else.
Sure, it has been. And I think that, this is the first time in a number of years that we've had all the statewide races up for play. And so, of course, we're seeing a lot of those folks come in, good folks. Greg Abbott, General Abbott, is going to be out here next week. And we've got a good group of folks lined up there. And, of course, they're trying to get people out to vote. As General Abbott has said, we really need to work to make sure our people get out and vote, because that's a problem, is the numbers just keep going down and people are not getting out to vote and, not expressing what they want in the ballot box. We really need to make sure that folks get out, especially with the early voting options we have and, of course, on Election Day.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that you've been holding events, that you've been talking to voters. What are voters saying to you as maybe some of their top priorities going into the next session?
It's interesting. Of course, a lot of folks have their specific projects, but overall, I think, I do know that one of the biggest issues that people are looking at are down at the border. They're concerned with the border, what's happening at the border. As we've said, as you and I have talked about, it's a federal issue, but it's a state problem. We at the state are dumping, millions and millions of dollars into that budget, and some see as much as $1 billion by the time we're back in session. That's something that the federal government should be taking care of. We, as taxpayers, are not only paying the federal government to do it, but then we're also using our precious state resources to also make sure that we're protected. So that's a big issue. Of course, water is a huge issue. Will continue to be a big issue. Transportation, that's a big issue. We've got the school suit that's working its way through the court system right now, and it's good to see that Judge Dietz' work is getting reviewed, and probably a lot of us expect for that to change on the way it was ruled on. He's typically overturned on that stuff, so we'll see what happens there. Just a lot of activity going on. As I was telling a group of folks the other day, there's the good, the bad, and the ugly is. The good news is people are moving to Texas. The bad news is people are moving to Texas, and the ugly is the federal government.
Yeah. Visiting with State Representative John Frullo, seeking re-election, and should win that one pretty easily, I would think. It's going to be a big Republican year just about everywhere in the state. Going into this next legislative session, and there's obviously going to be a lot of change. Governor on down. How do you think those dynamics play?
It'll be interesting. With change, you'll have new personalities, new focuses, people getting together, working. In a number of cases, I know the folks that are running. I've got personal relationships with them, and so that will, that will work well for our area. I think that we're going to see more of a shift to the right. We'll see that in the Senate. Everything points to the folks that are replacing the folks that were there. I think are going to be more conservative. Looking back at the House and the way we've been in the past, we've been more conservative than the Senate. And so, my feeling for the more conservative Senate is welcome aboard. I think it'll be good. I think it'll be good for the state.
Yeah. Visiting with State Representative John Frullo, of course, running for re-election District 84. We'll go ahead. We'll take the break. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Representative John Frullo here on the Chad Hasty Show, News Talk 790 KFYO. One more segment. Representative John Frullo seeking re-election in District 84. And just like yesterday when we had General Abbott on the show, Representative Frullo encouraging people and really needing people to get out there and vote. And it's one of those things where across the state you're seeing voter turnout that's lowered, and we've seen that in past elections this year. And here in Lubbock County we're seeing lower and lower numbers for whatever reason. Just not as many people are getting out there and voting. And And for Republicans, I think that there are a lot of Republicans that just take it for granted that, hey, we're in a red state, we're going to win all the time. You think that's sort of the
I think
sentiment out there?
that's part of the case. Also, out in our part of the world, we tend to be more conservative. I think more common sense. We work hard. And we tend to look at other folks around here doing the same thing, and we think, okay, well, the rest of the state is like that. That's not the way the rest of the state is. We really have to work to help some of those folks out across the state, because what's happening is Battleground Texas and some of these other groups are saying, wow, if we can just start moving that needle, if we can start getting that to show that we're a little more purple than what we think we are, then we can start getting more money from because once Texas, if Texas was to ever change, the rest of the country is shot at that point. And so what they're trying to do is they will keep picking on Texas. Right now, it's not that good of an investment for them. They can win in other places. So what we've got to do, and especially in this part of the state where we believe those conservative values, low taxes, babies, and the Bible are things that we believe, things that we live. The other parts of the state aren't necessarily the same way we are. They don't think the same way. And so our vote's got to help the rest of the state keep the state red.
We've talked about what some people have talked to you, in different meetings that you've had about some of their priorities. Besides water and transportation, which we know are going to be two major issues going into the next legislative session, what are some of your priorities, your personal priorities going into the next session?
Well, of course, the last couple of sessions I've worked on human trafficking issues, working for the least or the most vulnerable of our society, the kids, human trafficking. That will continue to be that a priority. Working on an airport bill that we started last session, to where if a landowner and a pilot agree and the pilot wants to land on that private landowner's strip, they can, and basically the landowner is not held responsible. We're trying to do that. Of course, the trial lawyers are working against us on that. They don't like that. So it's more of a property rights issue. Mm-hmm. Of course, working for West Texas, Texas Tech, there's always things that come up for our area. Oftentimes, it's also keeping the bigger cities from being able to run us over. We've got a lot fewer folks out here, both on the Senate. We look at District 8, the largest Senate district in the state. So we tend to have larger areas around here with fewer reps, as it's one person, one vote. And so it'll be protecting what we have out here, making things that make sense. On the committees I was on last time and would enjoy being on again, we've got great representation out there or in Austin as far as those committees. So I think there's a lot of good things going into this next session.
What do you think are some of the bills that, and you brought it up earlier about how everything's moving to the right, it seems. If all the elections go the way we think they're going to go, Senate's going to move to the right. The House is going to stay on the Republican side, obviously. If that happens, what do you think are some of the bills that maybe didn't have a chance in the past few legislative sessions that are going to get through this time?
Well, as you've seen, everything tends to move a little bit each time. I think that we have probably a real good shot at campus carry. This time, I think that there's going to be a push for open carry again, so we'll see some of that type of activity. I'm not sure what's going to happen on the franchise front. I've always thought that I'd love to just get rid of that tax, being a business owner, and of course my background in accounting. I don't like the tax. I don't like the way it's computed. It's just not fair when you lose money that you still have to pay a tax. We made some great changes on it last session. We had that the first $1 million exemption on it versus a deduction. So we're working in the right way. We need to protect the oil and gas industry to keep that going. That's the lifeblood of the state. In a lot of areas, as well as ag. We need to make sure ag is protected, the universities, the schools. There's just a lot of moving parts.
Sure. Let me ask, before I let you go, of course, Dan Patrick in line to become the next lieutenant governor here in Texas. He's come up with a plan that would lower property taxes, increase the sales tax. What are your overall thoughts on that?
Just I haven't seen Dan's particular plan. It's I've got a lot of heartache over the amount of property taxes we pay. We never really own our land. In essence, the government owns it. And what we look at, a lot of folks are having a hard time paying those taxes as they come up. So, I think that we need to work on something like that. And it's just the devil's in the details. But I would be for looking at something like that.
Sure. Representative John Frullo, appreciate your time.
Thank you, Chad.
Thanks for coming in, running for re-election. District 84, get out and vote. Early voting underway right now. We'll take the break. We'll be right back.